We're going to make a purse with a leather bottom. I got this on Amazon. I'm not sure where else you can buy them. I've tried to find them someplace else, but so far I have not been able to. This is 8.5 by 4. They come in lots of different sizes. You can also get them where they're square, and you can get them when they're wood. So the thing about crocheting around this is if you pick a different size bottom, the stitches that you do for the first couple of rounds could be different depending on how wide your bottom is. So if you do use a different size than this, you may need to play with the first couple of rows to see how it works. You don't want your row to be really tight, and as you start to crochet up, you don't want your rows to be leaning in like this. If your row starts to do that, you need to take it out and redo it. You want the very first row to stick out just a little bit like that, and then you know you're on the right track. The 5mm is going to be for the walls of the purse, but because this is a big hook to go into the holes, we are going to do the first part with the 3.5. So find your center hole, have your pegs facing you, take your cording, pull it through your hook, one hand, pull it tight. We're going to slip stitch in every hole all the way around. So slip stitch, when you get to the last hole, pull your cord up, come in to the back in the hole that you started, pull that through, tighten it up a little bit to where you can still put your hook over it like that. Yarn over and pull through. Then do a single crochet in that same hole. Then do another single crochet in the same hole. Do 2 single crochets in each hole until you get all the way over to your little foot where the curve stops, where it starts going straight. If you want to, you can hold your tail while you're crocheting so that it's hidden inside, but if you don't want to, you can weave it in later. I'm going to do one more stitch because you can see that it still has a little bit of curve right here, and you want to make sure that the sides of your purse do not cave in instead of out. So I'm going to do one more stitch with 2 single crochet stitches. And now we will do 1 single crochet all the way down until you get to where it starts to curve. And you can put stitch markers in if you want to do that, if you want to figure out where your 2 in each stitch is going to go. You can always just put a stitch marker there. So I'm going to do 1 single crochet all the way down. Now I'm back to the curve, so I will go back to making 2 single crochets. I'm going to go all the way around to here with 2 single crochets in each stitch. Now I finished the curve, and I will go 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get to here. Now I will start doing 2 in each stitch. Last stitch, the last hole. Now for this, we need to join our round. Pull your loop up, take your hook, come in the back side of that first stitch and do your slip stitch backwards. So take your loop, put it on your hook, pull it through, pull just a little bit so it's not so loose. You want just a little bit of slack so you can move your hook over. Yarn over, pull through, and then make a single crochet right here where your slip stitch is. and that will hide the bump where you did your slip stitch. Now we will do 1 single crochet in every stitch going around. So you just did the single crochet where you covered your slip stitch. Now you need to do this one right here. So single crochet in there. We're going to single crochet all the way around till you get to the last single crochet in the previous row that was 2 in 1. So right here where your 2 stitches per hole, we're going to single crochet per stitch right there. Now we have gone to the end of our stitches where we did 2 in 1. So for all of these stitches where we did 1 stitch per hole, we will do 2, 1, 2, 1. So this next stitch right here is going to be 2 single crochets in the same stitch. That's an increase stitch. The next stitch is going to be 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochet in the same stitch, an increase stitch, and then 1, and then do another increase, that puts us all the way to where our single in the hole stitches go. So now we're back to where we started with 2. So now we will do 1 single crochet per stitch all the way around the curve till you get to the end of where your 2 stitches per hole ends. Okay, we're back over to where our 2 in 1 hole ends. Then we will start doing our 2 in 1 and 1 in 1 all the way along there. And the reason I'm not giving you the stitch count and how many you will have around is because it will be different depending on your bottom. So if you get a different size bottom, because they do come smaller, they come more narrow, they come longer, wider. As long as you do your stitches where you're following the curve and you do your single stitches on the flat and you do your curved stitches double and then you do the second row the way we're doing now, your walls should turn out right if you do that, no matter what size you get. Do an increase stitch, which is just 2 in 1, and then a single stitch, back over here. Now I will finish up with putting 1 stitch in each stitch as you go around. Do not put a stitch in the one that you did the beginning of. Okay, we got our last stitch. When we get to the end, we will pull our loop, put your hook in the back of that first stitch that you made. Grab your loop, pull it through, now we're going to switch to the 5mm. Put your hook right in the middle of that stitch. Take your loop, pull it a little bit tighter, pull it through that hole. At this point, we are going to start to crochet in the round where we will not do a chain one and start a new row, so you won't need stitch markers. So now we will do just a single crochet in every single stitch around, but this next row will be in the back loop only. So you have a front loop and a back loop, and the reason you do this row in the back loop only is because you don't want your yarn to continue to crochet out this way. You want to turn it so that the walls will turn up, and by doing it in the back loop, that will turn your wall this way. So do a single crochet in the back loop only, all the way around. With your 5mm crochet hook. Okay, we have one more stitch that needs to be turned up. So that goes in the back loop only. And then we will start to crochet regular single crochets where you go in both stitches. We're not going to join the rounds. So go into that stitch. When you get to this point, you can feel that the walls are turning towards you. So we're going to flip our walls the other way. And if you want, you can take the little bumps there at the corner, kind of push them over. It won't go all the way over until you do a completed row, but you can kind of get it started. But once you complete this row, your wall should stay flipped over the other way. Keep doing a single crochet all the way around. I'm about halfway around the row, and your walls that you flipped, they will probably flip back over. Don't worry about that. When you get done with the whole row, you can flip it back up. When you finish that row, you should be able to flip your walls up. Continue to do a single crochet all the the way around until you get your purse to be the height that you want, and that can be any size that you want. And one thing of this cording should make a short bag, but if you want a taller bag, then you're going to need to have more than one. You can make it as big as you want. And if you get the really large bottoms like this, then obviously it will use more yarn. This is more a size, not so much for a purse, but more like a bag. You can put a laptop in it. You can use it as a small beach bag. They come in different sizes. If you want to add a tag to your purse, I have these that I get on Etsy, but you can also get some that just say handmade at stores. So crochet to the part where you want it to be. I'm going to go one more stitch. And because this 5mm doesn't fit through the hole, I'm going to change my hook long enough to do this. Lay your tag down the way it's supposed to go, then flip it. Put your hook through the hole. Grab your loop. Pull your loop through the hole. Then you can take your other hook back and then continue to crochet until you get to the stitch where the next hole will line up. Put your hook through the hole, grab your loop, pull your loop through the hole, go back to your regular hook size, and keep crocheting. When you come around to the other side, you will crochet in every stitch, and then when you get to the stitch that was in the hole, crochet in this part right here, and then go behind, crochet in all of the stitches behind all the way to the end, and then flip around and crochet in that stitch right there, and then just keep going. I'm going to keep doing singles all the way till I get it to be the height that I want. This is my second skein of yarn. Probably will end up using 3. So I'm going to keep crocheting up. if you're going to do 2 small handles, like maybe something like this, where you need one in the front and one in the back, then your D-rings will go here. D-ring typically will be 4 stitches. So you will pick 4 stitches on each side, and that's where you will put your D-ring in, and you'll do the same thing for both. If you want your D-rings to be on each side where you have maybe a bigger handle or a longer crossbody handle, then when you need to figure out where your ends are, your 4 stitches that are on each side. So if you look at it, you can see there are 2 in each corner. So I'm going to put, this is where my next side will be. You need to pick 4 stitches that make it in the corner. So I'm going to mark where my first corner stitch will be. So where this stitch marker is where I will begin my D-ring. And then you need to mark the other side. I'm going to say, since I'll be coming around this way, this will be my first one. Now we know we're at the beginning of where we will be putting it, so we can take this stitch marker out. Take your D-ring and just hold it in front of your stitches, so that when you go into your stitch, the D-ring is on the top of your hook. So you're just making your single crochet with your D-ring in the middle. Okay, I've got 4 stitches. And I go to the next stitch. So that has your D-ring buried inside your stitch. When you put your purse together like this, just make sure before you go too far that your D-ring sits straight and doesn't do like that or that. It needs to sit straight right in the corner. And if it doesn't, just take your stitches out and adjust which way you need to go. If you need to change your starting D-ring stitch over or further, then you can do that. So we're going to go down. Then I've got my stitch marker here where my next D-ring will start. Okay, I'm over to my stitch marker. So I'm going to take that out, and the next 4 stitches are going to be crocheted over the D-ring. Okay, that's 4 stitches. You can move this back and forth. You can do 5 if you want, but I found with this size D-ring, it tends to pull the stitches over, so I would rather have a little bit of play with it than to have it leaning over and pulling on the stitches. So keep going around. I'm going to stop here and just verify that my D-rings are in the right place. They look like they're even on both sides, so I'm going to keep going. When you do the D-ring way of doing the straps, you don't want your D-ring to be at the very top. To give it some stability so that it doesn't pull when you put weight in your purse, you want to have 2 rows after you put your D-ring in. So I'm going to keep going, and you can see that this is where the purse started right here. You can always tell because of the way the stitch is right there. So I'm going to go another row on top of the D-ring and end it here. Then I'm going to do another row and end it there, and then I will do my finishing stitch. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more full rows to be on top of each D-ring. When you have a knot in your cord or any of your thread that yarn that you're crocheting with, especially when you're working with a circular in the round where the inside of the purse isn't really going to show, try as hard as you can to get the knot to be on the inside of the purse. Sometimes that's not possible, but what I usually do is once I start crocheting, if it looks like it's going to end up on the outside, then I may go back a few stitches and make it either tighter or looser, or cut it and redo the knot. This one looks like it's going to go just perfect on the inside. That does not usually happen. I usually have to play with it a little bit to get it to go inside there by making my stitches loose or tight. The size purse I'm using right now will use 2 of this cording skeins. This is the 3rd one, but that's only because I've been using up leftovers from other projects. So I will actually have 2 knots on the inside of this purse because of that. I like to use up some of my leftover stuff on projects like this where I know I can hide the knot. So a sunglass case is really good for hiding knots, a basket. So this is going to end the 2nd row on top of the D-ring. Going to end right there. So each row has each D-ring has 2 rows on top of it. That just sort of makes it a little more sturdy, so when you put your strap on and you put weight inside your purse and it starts to pull on it, the D-ring won't stretch out as much because it's pulling on more rows. You can, when you're done with this, spray a stiffening starch or something on your purse. I don't usually do that, but you can. So now when you get to the end, if you're doing the D-rings and you've done 2 rows, we're going to do a top stitch using a slip stitch, and that's just to kind of give it a finished look at the top. So when you get to this last stitch where the D-ring is, we're going to do a slip stitch in the back loop only. insert your hook, yarn over, and pull through. Back loop only, slip stitch all the way around. Okay, when you get to the point where there's one more stitch that doesn't have the slip stitch in it, you can see how it angles down a little bit. Take your cording and cut it. Give a nice long tail to work with. So cut that and then pull it through. Pull it tight. And then we're going to skip the stitch that's angled down, and we're going to go through the back loop only to the first stitch that you did a slip stitch into. We're going to try to cover up that angle. So pull that through from the back. Pull that tight. Now, the stitch that you skipped over that's angled down, go into the back loop of that one. Pull your cord through, all the way through. And then we're going to go in the back, skip this stitch right here, go to the back of the next one, pull that through, the back loop only, coming up to the front, and then the back loop of the next stitch, pull that through. And then you can weave in your ends. If you cut your cording at an angle, it'll be a little bit easier to get on your needle because it is pretty thick. Okay. I'm just going to weave in my ends. This is the purse strap that I'm going to use, and I'm going to double it. So instead of doing one on each side, I want it to be a little bit shorter. I'm just going to put that through. And clip both of these on there. And then I'm going to line the purse with this fabric. So to line, I'm going to I'm going to sew straight up here, and then I'm going to put it inside the purse and then fold over, and then on the sewing machine I will come and I will sew all the way around. Okay, I've got my purse lined. I put the fabric right under the bump that's made with the finishing top stitch.